So today we're doing something very different from what I usually do on the channel. In fact, it's something I don't believe I've ever done on the channel. We're doing a tier list. I know, crazy. No, actually, because I've been focusing so heavily on, because I've been so hyper-fixated on Invasion from Below lately, and I talk about it being my favorite of the Hero Factory waves, I kind of wanted to show which are my favorites. So in this video, we're taking a look at every single set that was released for Hero Factory Invasion from Below. Maybe it's a little blasphemous for this to be the thing that starts off tier lists, but if you do like this video on the channel, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and it tells YouTube you want to see more content like this. So without further ado, let's head on over to Tier Maker or something along those lines. So I've pulled all the sets up here already. This is every single set from Hero Factory Invasion from Below, including the 2 poly bags that we got for this wave, which was pretty different considering most of the time when Hero Factory got poly bags, it was usually one and it was usually an accessory pack of some kind. So actually getting full builds here, in some cases with an actual minifigure as well, was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. So let's go ahead and look at them, and we're just going to start from first all the way to the last and just see what we think. So first up here, you have the villain polybag. It is a small little creature, whatever you want to call it, little beast. And what's interesting about it is that it actually uses the Crystal Beast head, but on a $5 set. So if you're somebody who likes Crystal Beast, who likes the fact that it has those trans blue head pieces, you'll probably like this one. It's also a good source for trans blue bones in general. That means I'm going to set this one up in S tier. Not necessarily because the set is fantastic. It is a good build for what it's worth, but because it's just such great value when it came out. A little overpriced nowadays. But yeah, $5 for that. Absolutely fantastic. Stealth Machine is next, and I'm kind of biased towards this one because I love the aesthetic of this set. However, as a set, as it stands up, I think it is weaker than some of the other machines, but at the same time, it's just a very good looking set. It's a good all around, it's a good mid-range set, and so I think it's going to go in that middle tier, right there in a B. Evo's XL Walker is, in my opinion, a pretty good set overall. It's interesting too because there is a bit of a gimmick from the wave where you can combine the arms from other sets on this one. I didn't mention it in the video where I talked about the XL Walker, but it does have open ball joints for that. And it can actually attach to one of the poly bags too, which I think is super cute. But suffice to say, it is a good set all around. I think you will like it if it is one that you have. The only thing that I think really lets this set down is the fact that it has 2 arms. One is a blaster, but the other is just a hand, something we'd seen plenty of times before, and I would have liked to have seen something a little bit better on a Titan. Still, I am going to put this in A tier, especially because today it is still a readily available set that you can get for quite cheap. Sometimes even, oftentimes even cheaper than it was originally released for. So I'd say it's a good set. Next up, we have Raka's Crawler. Fun name, I know. And this one for me is again going to kind of be in the B tier here. I think it's a perfectly serviceable set for the $10 range. It's definitely better than what came before, I'll be honest. And of course, getting the cocoon in this set, getting a new jumper in that set with the blue shell was always nice. And it was one of the first sets that I believe I got for this entire series. The chainsaw arms are a little bit weird in their proportions, but they're kind of cool, admittedly. And I think it works overall. Tunneler Beast, a personal favorite of mine. I really think I'm going to honestly put this one in S tier. I know that that's probably not where it belongs. It is a fairly straightforward build, though it does have something interesting going on in the build in and of itself. You get just the one cocoon piece. Would have been nice if it came with a cocoon, but at that point, I think everybody would have bought it over the Raka Crawler. And it's a fantastic color scheme, a fantastic set in and of itself. Good set. I like it. All right, so Drill Machine. I think this one's actually pretty decent overall. I do have it, and I believe it was the first that I bought. Don't quote me on that. From Invasion from Below all the way back in 2014. This is right after I got out of school, so I was fresh on to wanting to get back into Bionicle, wanting to get back into Hero Factory stuff. And I think it's a good set all around. You do get 2 printed shells on it as well, which may be exclusive to it as well. I'm not positive if Bulk got any other machine of his own. I know he appeared in other sets. So for that reason, I want to put this one in A tier. The thing that really holds it back is it is called the Drill Machine. the drill is kind of boring on it, to be honest. Having the double laser thing on the backside just isn't the most inspired thing in the world. But I think it's a good set all around, and it looks aesthetically pleasing. It is also a little bit lacking on the backside. There's no shell or armor, and it really feels like there should have been. Moving on from that, we have Crystal Beast. I'm personally not the biggest fan of Crystal Beast, but I know there are a lot of people who like them, especially the color itself. I do really like the torso print, which is the thing that a lot of people really knock on, so I'm kind of in the opposite boat from many people. For this one, I'm personally just going to put it in C tier, though. It's not my favorite. It doesn't do anything that special on its own, and it feels a little different from some of the other beasts. Plus, it came out in Wave 2, where a lot of the sets were crawlers, so seeing another set that was a biped was a little boring, at least in my opinion. Next up, we have the Flea Machine, and if it wasn't for the fact that this only has 3 legs, I think I would place it higher. But on its own, and especially with the gimmick for the set, I'm going to put this one in C tier as well. The gimmick is that it fires this little claw arm, but you, I guess, have to flick it or throw it or something, because there's no mechanism to do it, and it's supposed to grab cocoons, I guess. It just doesn't work very well, in my personal opinion. Next up, we have the Combat Machine, and right off the bat, this is the one that I'd probably recommend the most for the heroes side. I am going to put this one in S tier, and it's still, again, a fairly cheap set even to this day. Honestly, its value hasn't gone up much from what its original price point was when it was released, which I believe was $25. So you could still find the set for about that price. You get 2 jumpers, 2 minifigures, you get a cocoon with it as well, which is a fantastic piece, and you get a machine with another machine on its back, sort of. It is a bit lacking in certain areas, but given the price of the set, given the figures that it comes with, absolutely a great set in and of itself. And just modify it with your own parts, then it will be absolutely perfect. Next up, we have the Queen Beast, and I really like this set as well. However, I do have to look at this from a realistic lens, and I understand that this set is really overpriced today, to be honest. It's very easy to find this set for what it's worth in lots. So going on eBay and finding like, Hero Factory lots, you have a pretty good chance of finding this one cheaper than if you were to just buy it outright. A lot of people sell it for like 70, 80 bucks, and it's just way too overpriced, to be honest. For that reason, I'm going to put this in A tier. The set itself is good, though. The Queen build is good, and it's very different. The entire set only utilizes the XT4 or small torso too, so it's actually pretty cool in and of itself. The build, once it all comes together, isn't anything too spectacular, but it is a good looking set. The color schemes are great, and you get a machine with it as well. Small as it may be, it's still a functional vehicle, and I really like that. So pretty good set overall. Personally, not a fan of the Evo Walker. I know I've already talked about this one in previous videos. I do like it for what it's worth at the $10 price range as a parts pack. It is a great parts pack. It comes with plenty of bones. Those yellow bones at the time were reasonably rare. Of course, getting 3 jumpers in all 3 colors available. Evo was obviously a good figure as well. However, I still have to look at it realistically. With my opinion, I just don't like this set. I understand what they were trying to do with the body, but it doesn't come together for me. I'm going to put this one in D tier, and I'm going to make a lot of enemies because of it. I do understand, though, that it was a lot of people's first set, and again, it does have a lot of charm for what it's worth. I do think that my modification on the Walker is generally better, and I want to kind of mess around with it a little bit more before I post it on the Discord so that, certain pieces stay connected. So we'll see how that works out. But that way, you can build that one for yourself. And of course, I gave it the new function, but I made a whole video on it, so I'll link that at the end of this video as well. Next up, we have Splitter Beast, another honestly fantastic set, in my opinion. On its own, it's not anything that special. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to oversell it and make you think that it's this crazy elaborate build, because it's not. At the end of the day, this is just basically a regular villain build, very similar to like Pyrox from Brain Attack, and a little build on top of it. But it's the fact that both of them are together as one thing. I love the fact that it has the little street lamp as its weapon, and the fact that both beasts do stand up on their own. The only change that I would make to it, other than maybe adding some other textures on the set itself, is you can actually attach a jumper to the back of The little beast on the back of this one, and I took a picture of it and talked about it on Discord specifically, but just using a bar piece. And I'm, again, going to continue to modify that as well. So if that had been done in the set, I would have loved it so much more. I'm going to put this one in A tier, though, also because it's still a relatively widely available set. It gives you 2 heads to work with. It gives you a pretty good starting point as well. Great prints on those leg shells. It's a fantastic set overall. Next up, we now have the Hero Machine Polybag, and I really like this one as well. You do get Breeze here, who is not the rarest figure by any means, but is not as common as some of the others at the same time, especially because this was not the most common polybag to find. The build itself is very straightforward, and interestingly, it's an orange machine, even though obviously Breeze is lime green. Many of the other machines often matched or complemented the colors of the characters, and the lime green seat piece was available for this set, but I imagine that they used orange so that the character would stand out when riding it, and that makes perfect sense. I really like this one. I think it's honestly a fantastic build. It's simple, but it is cool at the end of the day, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in S tier as well, though again, I understand that they're not all easy to find nowadays. It's much easier to part this one out, just as easy as it is to part the, Crystal Beast polybag out, rather than just trying to find it and buy it. And plus, you'd pay more for it that way anyway. So part them out, get them that way. You pay like $5 for the entire thing still to this day, and yeah, you'll be happy. Jet Machine. This one's definitely growing on me for sure. I do think that there are some areas where it is lacking, especially with the weapons. I would have preferred the orange rather than the red, but both of those are available. So in hindsight, you can just swap them out yourself. As it stands out of the box, I think this one is pretty good. It does some interesting things with the build itself. It's still, even after it's built, feels a little bit bland though. But it is a good set overall. So I think this one is definitely kind of up to you. I'm going to put this one in B tier as well, but I could absolutely see this one going higher depending on what you are looking for specifically with your sets. I really like the fact that it has the little jets over the shoulders that can fold back as a sort of jetpack. And in that way, it sort of becomes a flyer very similar to, well, Flyer Beast. Though admittedly, Flyer Beast doesn't feel like a flyer because the wings are a little weird. Chimo wings existed at this same point too, so I'm not sure why they didn't just use those. But anyway, I digress. Speaking of Flyer Beast, I would have rated this one lower had I not had it. Now that I own the set and I have it in hand, I really like the color scheme specifically. There's something about that yellow medium azure and black that I really like, and I'm probably going to revisit in one of my own builds, honestly. For the color scheme, the build is fine. There's nothing wrong with it by any means. It's nothing that special, and I will say that the claw hand, talon hand, whatever you want to consider that, is a bit lackluster for what it's worth. And I would have preferred to see one more joint in that elbow as well. As I mentioned, with my Evo Walker modification, it can clip onto that beast. It can clip onto other beasts as well. And in that regard, I would absolutely recommend it. As it is right here, I think I'm still going to have to put this one in B tier, even if I'm a bit biased towards it now. I do like the color scheme quite a lot, but it doesn't have that exciting of prints. The sort of spiderweb shell scale print on its knee is cool, admittedly. It can be a little bit off in the printing, as far as I can tell. Anyway, I only have one, so I can't say that for certain, and that bothers me a little bit. And it's obviously a bit more generic than some of the other prints that I would honestly prefer over it. So, good set, not a great set, and it's not doing anything too, new, experimental. But I do like the little radio tower attachment. Again, I really love the fact when they use, cityscape items as weapons. I think that that's something that they should have honestly done more than just twice for the beast. What about like a water tower or something? That would have been super cool, but unfortunately we didn't get that. Next up, we have the Freeze Machine, and honestly, I'm not a huge fan of this one. I think it looks a little bit clunky. It's way too gunmetal, to be honest, too. And where the gunmetal kind of works with like the Stealth Machine with the black and the gold and stuff, it looks good and it balances really well. Here, it just kind of takes over the color scheme, and then you also get the orange on the rockets and something feels off about it, and I can't quite pin it down exactly what it is. It also has this sort of like rammer bar in the front, which is a neat idea and unfortunately a kind of expensive piece for no reason. But the execution of it feels a bit off. That said, if you like Stormer, I do think he's one of the best figures in this wave. So it is a way to get that. But I think Queen Beast is just the better way to get it overall. I'm going to put this one in C tier. The big clunky feet on it also feel a little bit off. But hey, it's another way to get those feet at the very least, I guess. And Jaw Beast, lastly. I love purple. It's my personal favorite color. I think, again, this one has a fantastic color scheme with the purple, medium azure, and the translight blue and black. But it's a bit of a boring set. It is another Stormer here as well, if it is one that you have. I don't know that I'd prefer it more than the Freeze Machine, honestly, though. But I don't think it belongs in D tier, because it's nowhere near, to me at least, the build for the Walker. I'm going to put it in C tier, and I think that's it, which is kind of crazy because it's a big old square here, and then the Walker sitting down at the bottom. Again, I do not think that the Walker is a bad set, but I've just seen what LEGO has been able to do at that $10 price point, and though I can admire them doing something different here, it feels bad. It just doesn't come together, and I know that they're capable of better. As I mentioned, I think the biggest weakness with the Walker is that it relies on CCBS so heavily when it's just not the proper scale, I think, for a vehicle like that. My version of the build relies a little bit more heavily. It still uses a lot of ball joints, a lot of sockets, but it's the loose pieces, the loose socket pieces, the loose ball joint pieces. And I think that works out better than like CCBS bones here, bones there, bones everywhere. So that is everything. I think that this is a pretty good summary of all of Hero Factory. I absolutely think you could move a lot of these sets around. Splitter Beast could easily be in that S tier range. Maybe if it had a torso print, or the main beast looked just a little bit more, had a little more presence to him, I think it'd be a really good set. Same is true for Queen Beast. If it wasn't so inflated in price, that's an easy S tier set. If you can find it cheaper, $30, I think it's honestly an S tier set. Less than that, fantastic. Go get it for sure. You get 3 minifigures with it. You get a cocoon. You get, I think, just the one jumper. But obviously, you get the Queen Beast itself. The weapon is a little lackluster on it, but the build for the Queen is a good one overall. And then, of course, same kind of thing for the Drill Machine, too. I think it's just almost, it's on the cusp of being an S tier set, but it's not quite there for me. With all that being said, I would have loved to have seen, of course, Stringer next. And I'd love for you to see the next videos. So if you'd like to see more content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. As mentioned, it does really help out the channel. It gets us ever closer to that 3,000 milestone. We're almost there, and we're going to hit it some point this year. So hopefully we get there. On top of that, if you want to join in on the conversation, let me know your thoughts in the comments. What did I get right here? What did I get wrong here? Surely you're going to disagree. Surely you will agree with some of this stuff as well. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I think that that is productive. On top of that, you can also check out the Discord, Instagram, and Patreon if you want to help support the channel and get some perks. And also if you want to learn about that Walker Evo modification, which will be coming there very soon. All of that is free to join. I guess technically, Patreon's not free, but you get the point. Don't feel obligated. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.